This is The Righteous View with your hosts, Avia Byers, Deborah Hoskins, and Christina McCormick.
All right, child.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to The Righteous View. We are so absolutely excited to have you here tonight with us. I am Avia Byers. Our weekly podcast will focus on topics regarding women of all ages. As we have said before, our mission is to foster righteous, open dialogue on topics that have been taboo within our social communities. We want to cultivate open and healthy discussions between mothers and daughters, husbands and wives, mature women and young women. Our goal is to educate and provide factual information to these demographics concerning our biological, physiological, and spiritual existence. So, introducing my co host tonight is the lovely Deborah Hoskins and the lovely Christina McCormick. And we have a special guest panelist tonight, our sister Bethany Yastar.
Good evening to everyone. We want to encourage you to turn in weekly every Thursday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here for thought-provoking topics that will hopefully stimulate conversations that are sometimes hard or uncomfortable.
Yes, you are. We are live on Facebook and after he break waking on YouTube and The Righteous View. Let me pull it back up. If you miss a podcast, you can view it and past podcasts on our YouTube channel at The Righteous View. If you enjoy our topics and the discussions have helped you in any way, please subscribe, like, and hit the notification button.
Yes, please, ladies, do it. We're so grateful there our listening audience that we've had over the past few weeks. This has been a pretty amazing journey for us. But today, our topic is going to be a very interesting one, very as we said, thought provoking. The topic tonight is how rape, molestation, and incest have affected our communities and the danger in turning a blind eye. So, our guest tonight is a guest panelist. She is having problems
Yeah.
and I think she's kind of going in and out. Hopefully, her phone will allow her to get in, especially for the time that we're going to be discussing, getting into the discussion. And that's Bethany Yastar. So we want to just welcome Bethany.
Yes, welcome.
Hallelujah.
We welcome you. So we want to just start out with, according to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, in the U.S., approximately 1 in 5 women, that's 21.3%, and about 2.6%, that's 21.3% of females, and about 2.6% of men or males report experiencing completed or attempted rape in their lifetime. Every 68 seconds, another American is sexually assaulted. So we're going to jump right in, and I'm going to start out with the discussion or in reading, and we're going to just go through. We want ladies and gentlemen who's ever on the line with us and on Facebook and on YouTube tonight. We are going to read through our information and our stats so that we can get to the part of the discussion part with Bethany, our guest panelist. So I'm going to start out with rape. So rape, the definition of rape: the unlawful sexual intercourse of any other sexual penetration of the vagina, anus, or mouth of another person with or without force by a sex organ, other body part, or foreign object without, I repeat, without the consent of the person subjected to such penetration. Any sexual activity with or without penetration that takes place without the consent of one of the people involved also can be sexual assault. So rape can also be sexual assault, which is consensual, non-consensual touching of one person for the sexual gratification of another, which includes rape, fondling, molestation, or other unwanted contact with the genitals, anus, buttocks, groin, the breast of either party, an act of plunder. Now, this is also part of the rape definition: the act of plunder or violent seizure or abuse. Statutory rape is sexual intercourse or other sexual relations with a person under the legal age of consent, which age varies in different states throughout the United States. According to Statista.com, the U.S. 2021 stats for high school students who were raped. Now, these are high school students who reported the rape. Overall, in the U.S. was 13.5% female and 3.6% male. The highest percentage was in West Virginia. Now, West Virginia is a very rural state, but it had the highest percent of high school reported rapes in the country in 2021, with it being 23.3% female and 5% male. The lowest percentage was in Virginia, which was 8.6% female and 3.7% male. Now, the definition of molestation is touching a non-consenting person, especially a child, in a sexual manner. That all of this is coming from dictionary.com, Merriam-Webster.com. Incest, the definition for incest is sexual intercourse between persons so closely related that they are forbidden by law to marry. So that's what incest is. So that would be a mother, daughter to a son, a daughter, grandson, granddaughter, niece, nephew, grandparents. So those people that are directly related to you, if you cannot marry them, then you cannot have sex with them, pretty much. So that's incest. That's the definition of incest. So consensual, the consensual age. So I brought up some stats concerning the United States and Ghana, since we have some of our sisters who are Ghanaian, and I live in Ghana. So they are watching and viewing this broad podcast. In Ghana, the legal minimum age of sexual consent is 16. Section 101 of the Criminal Code 1960 Act 29, which was amended in 1998 by the Criminal Code Amendment Act 554, which stipulates the legal age of sexual consent in Ghana at 16 years old. Rape remains a significant issue in the United States, with varying statistics depending on the source and methodology. The National Crime Victimization Survey, NCVS, reports approximately 237,868 victims aged 12 or older annually, while the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting, UCR, program recorded 139,380 rapes in 2018. Underreporting is a concern, with estimates suggesting that only about 34.8% of sexual assaults are reported to authorities. Mm-hmm. Additionally, the National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey, which is the NISVS, indicates that nearly 20% of the women and 1.7% of men have experienced attempted or completed rape in their lifetime. These statistics highlight the prevalence of rape and the importance of continued efforts to support victims and prevent such crimes. In Ghana, sexual violence, including rape and defilement, is a significant concern. In 2020, the Domestic Violence and Victim Support Unit, which is DOVVSU, in Ghana, reported 305 cases of rape and 1,047 cases of defilement. However, these figures may underrepresent the actual prevalence due to underreporting, with some estimates suggesting about 15,000 cases of violence against women annually. Additionally, a 2020 study indicated that sexual violence is the most prevalent violent crime in Ghana. Not burglary, not theft, breaking in someone's home, but sexual violence, with rates fluctuating between 12 and 19 per 100,000 female, and from 2012 through 2019. In the United States, the age of consent is determined by each jurisdiction, and it typically ranges from 16 to 18 years old. The federal government has no direct role in setting the age of consent, but it does regulate certain aspects of sexual activity, such as child pornography and prostitution. Now we're going to get into the stats, and then I will be finished. There was just so much information. The statistics. 1 in 5 women in the United States experience completed or attempted rape during their lifetime. Nearly 1 out of 5 women, nearly a quarter, 24.8% of men in the United States experience some form of contact sexual violence in their lifetime. Nationwide, 81% of women and 43% of men reported experiencing some form of sexual harassment and or assault in their lifetime. 1 in 3 female victims of completed or attempted rape experienced it for the first time between, and this is why we're talking about this, between the ages of 11 and 17. These are teenage daughters, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
About 1 in 4 male victims of completed or attempted rape first experienced it between the age of 11 and 17, our sons. It is estimated that 734,630 people were raped, including threatened, attempt, or completed rape in the U.S. in 2018. 40% of the rapes and sexual assaults were reported to police in 2017, but only about 25% were reported to police in 2018. The prevalence of false reporting for sexual assault crimes is low, between 2% and 10%. Almost 1 in 4 undergraduate women experience sexual assault or misconduct at 33 of the nation's major universities in the country. About half, 51.1% of female victims of rape reported being raped by an intimate partner, and 40.8% by an acquaintance. So that means that most times we know our rapist.
Mm-hmm.
Over half, 52% of 52.4% of males victims report being raped by an acquaintance, and 15.1% by a stranger.
Mm.
The estimated lifetime cost of rape per victim is approximately $122,461. So that means if a woman takes, or if a person is raped and they go to court, that is the average estimated lifetime cost that the victim will receive is about $122,000.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah, wow. It's terrible. Well, the difference between rape and molestation. But I just wanted to point out something. Thank you, Rabbits. I mean, that was just unbelievable, but it's real, and that's what's going on today. And that's statistics, and it's not a lie, and that's just statistics that we know of.
Right.
Imagine what is not reported and what's not brought to the limelight. So here, even as Avia mentioned regarding and giving the definition of rape and sexual assault. I just wanted to say this, that oftentimes the definition, even regarding sexual assault and rape, is a lot of times muddled into the same thing. but it's
Correct.
not the same case. Rape, as she explained it, is penetration without consent. It's some type of penetration. Whereas assault, as she explained, is one forcing the victim to touch, kiss, grope, engage in a sexual act against their will. And listen to this. And since we live in the age of smartphones,
Wow.
it's important to know that sexual assault can include also unwarranted pictures of the perpetrator nude, exposing his genitals, or performing sexual acts. That's also considered sexual assault. And this is something that we have to be very careful, because even with our young people, our teenagers, our young daughters, and that's why even as they are allowed to have these phones sometimes, or even able to get on the internet, you need, as a parent, you need to be that policing. You need to police what they're looking at, because these things can transpire right under your nose, and you're right there if you're not guarding, because there's a way, even with parental, protection, there are ways where they can get through. And so it is imperative that you keep, I really don't even recommend, young people being in their room and they have access with all of these things and you don't know what's going on.
Right.
And you need to have continual conversation. Now, also, as molestation is to make unwanted or improper sexual advances towards someone, particularly women and girls, and especially to force physical and usually sexual contact on someone. This is what molestation is. So it is a form of sexual abuse. All of it is sexual abuse to some extent, but rape is the one where it's penetration.
Absolutely.
In one way or another, some type of penetration without consent. Now, what is in now we're going into incest, which is sexual assault. But as Avia had mentioned, it is involving a family member, a close family member, even, So what are the effects of this sexual abuse by family members on and so also realizing the effect on the family unit and the survivor, and the importance of finding, community. So in reading, in doing the research, it says sexual abuse by a family member, otherwise known as incest, can have lasting effects on a child's development and sense of safety. Having a positive community connection and support can help survivors of incest manage the effect and begin healing, as you'll hear further with with Christina. But as it talks about the effects of family, the dynamics, a lot of times it causes a family to break up, and a lot of times there's some type of dysfunction. There are different things that are going on within the household that that goes on, that can stimulate even lack of sexual, with the partners, the mother and the father. And a lot of times, what is sometimes the effects when one doesn't really want to have, because certain other things are going on in the household. So as I was going into that and just kind of looking, it says and these are and some other statistics. It says of sexual abuse victims that come to law enforcement's attention, more than a quarter are victimized by a family member, while 60% or abused by someone else in the social network. And it says the majority of the juvenile victims known to the perpetrator, and approximately 34% of the perpetrators in case of child sexual abuse are family members, as we know. But it says knowing how incest sexual abuse affects survivors is a step towards managing emotional things. But some of the things that of triggering and different things that will go on regarding the individual, that within the household, where different things we see in the family dynamics, where one tends to turn their heads or not say anything. But the sad thing about it is many of the times these cases are never reported, never spoken of. That this is the family unit, and things go on. The young people are triggered, all kind of things transpire because there is nothing done about it. And different ones are turning a blind eye, and this child, or even as they grow into adults, are going through things that of depression and all kinds of different things. And I don't want to go into the other areas, but these are the certain things that happens in the family unit, where you have total chaos even in the household, and you have toxicity in the worst situations, and other children and other family members are affected by it, where it brings about, where everyone is dealing with some type of mental illness. I'll stop it there, and I'm going to allow Christina to continue. But this is something that we cannot close our eyes to, because the unit, it affects everybody, and not only the family unit, but it affects the community. This is something that we all will deal with, because some way or other we are affected just as well, because we have to, the dynamics and the toxicity will move within the community, and we got chaos. And instead of turning a blind eye, report these things, and just let's do something about it, because it is prevalent today. This is not yesterday. And we want to get us to move and do something that we can stop it, that we can have a better future for our people, our young people, our young adults, in every aspect. All right, Christina. I get emotional on this.
Look, I tell you, I'm trying to hold it in. So I'm gonna read, okay? Because it's so many things that I want to say, but I'm gonna stick to the script and read. We talking about signs. I need for the parents. Come on, let's focus. Because signs of sexual abuse can be misunderstood from other signs of just regular stress and trauma. So this is why we have to be educated, because we don't want to go around accusing the whole wide world because you see your son or daughter stressed out. It could just be you stressing them out. It could be school stressing them out. So we want to know how to distinguish the signs, right? So we have a range from a child having the perfect behavior. They're over compliant to anybody. Okay, that's a flag, all the way to withdrawal from everybody and everything. So I'm going to go through the signs, both emotional, physical, and then we're going to go to grooming. And then I'm a big done, because it gets really emotional. So signs, night terrors, these are emotional signs. And remember, you want, it's a lot of these signs that's going to come to the forefront, not just, some of us have night terrors because we just dreamers and stuff. So I don't want you to hear this and start accusing your whole family. I need for you to hear me when I say it's got to be a lot of checks on this list for you to notice something is just not right with sexual trauma, right? Night terrors, anxiety, depression. You can have that anyway. Change in eating habits. Reluctant. This is a big one that most families miss. Reluctant to be around that certain person. You trying to drop them off to get you for babysitting, and they don't want to go. And you come on. Let me stop. Unexplained anger, rebellion, or they running away behavior. Runaway behavior. They don't really want to run away, but they trying it. Attitude towards parents, friends, etc. is changing. They have a lack of interest in sports and things that that they was interested in, and all of a sudden they don't want to do it. Stomach problems, migraines, okay, self mutilation, cutting, right, suicidal thoughts, to the perfect behavior. If you have an overly compliant child, all of a sudden that's an emotional sign that they have really been groomed. Physical signs, okay, burning, redness, scabs, bruises around the genitals. But you got to be aware in your child's business in order to know that. And we cannot say we too busy and we working. We look. I go in my adult children's house and be busting up in their look, wetting themselves,
When
STDs.
yes,
You got to be in your child's business, especially if you a person of faith. Ain't no such thing as I'm too busy to be in my child's business. Because remember, teenagers don't want you to be in their business, but they really do. They want to know that you care, but they don't complain. And this is why the statistics and what Emma Deborah is saying, we got to be in their business. Because now, this is why we got to be in their business, the grooming part, which is disgusting, and which our community is known to turn a blind eye to this grooming. So let's talk about it. This is a deliberate act that comes from people who we know. Well, this ain't nobody that you 9 times out of 10 don't know, y'all. This is people that you know, who you call upstanding, who you say pay all the bills. He take good care of that. This is them. They are charismatic, highly regarded in the community, leaders. And that's what we're going to get to in the next one. We're going to get on them, these faith leaders. Okay. They easy to trust. They are intensely, now this is where we want to be careful, intensely focused on the child. So this ain't, how we have favorite uncles and aunties. This not that. This is where it get kind of weird. And this is why if you talk to your children and be nosy and have these open discussions, they're gonna say it's kind of weird between this person, but we're not open. We too busy working 50,000 different hours. I'm just gonna tell it like it is. They are constantly trying to establish a close relationship with the parents, so they gaining your trust too, honey. This is diabolical. True. They gaining the child's trust.
You find that a lot.
Your trust. They grooming you and your child.
That's big.
Now this is the stages
gaining your trust.
and they fall for it every time. And insert. Everybody get mad at Tyler Perry, but quit giving him material. So always come up with the movies, because this is happening in 2025. Quit giving them materials and then gonna talk about them because you too scared to open up your mouth. Okay, stages. They target neglected children that have a chaotic home life, or your child is always left behind home alone because you all are too busy. They gonna target you, honey. They watching you and been watching you. Lack of parental oversight, a preference. They get to know the child to see if they are in need. Single mothers, ding, 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 ding. They are going to go out of their way to fulfill the needs of the child because we too busy, they neglected. So I'll take them to the movies. I'll take them to the carnival. That's stage 1. Stage 2, they increase flattery to the child, increase attention. They give gifts, they give money, etc., like PS4s, jewelry, stuff like that. Then they begin to isolate the child. They need time alone with the child, so they're gonna come up with stuff. Oh, go on, I got it. Our babies. This is grooming. They convince them that they are loved and cared for by them because what's happening at home, you are being neglected. So I am here to take that space. This is way before sex is ever introduced, y'all. This is grooming. You don't know if it's taking months. You don't know, years. Grooming, because they remember they watching you.
Absolutely.
And they watching that child. Okay, so isolation. All right, they gonna see value in that child and start pumping that child up. This is so diabolical because you would want, your community to be kind of that way, but this is, it's grooming and it's disgusting. They start to bring in acts, okay, that lead to a sexual relationship. So they not at sex yet. So they are going to start taking pictures together. You take off your top, I'm gonna take off my top. We gonna get a dress. Snap, because remember they done gained their trust. They giving them gifts and stuff. You cool with them. You cool with your child staying at home with them. Everything is cool. So of course the child is gonna be like, well, this is cool. All right. Then they begin to introduce masturbation, and they teach them, this is how you masturbate. This is how you feel good. This is before penetration. They not touching on them. You see that? They not touching on them. They teaching them to touch themselves first and watch it to see if they're going to do it. Okay, now that they got all of that, they have to maintain control because now they're going to go for the sexual relation. So once now penetration, molestation, maybe even rape, well, most times rape is involved, they have to maintain control because they're going to go from step one all the way back down all over again once they introduce sex. So then we wonder, well, why they didn't say nothing? Well, why you didn't see nothing? Why you didn't see nothing?
Right.
Because I made a statement. If this type of discussion was at home, reinforced at the school, and reinforced at your church house, your synagogue, your congregation, those kids would be like, because he took me and they would have a safe space everywhere that they go to know who is the pervert in the family or in the community. But we too busy saying, y'all shouldn't be on no YouTube talking like this. You shouldn't be on Facebook talking like this. We need to have a space where it's safe and they can know, ding, 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 I'm going to tell, you put your hand on my thigh. You thought you was slick. Nope. We talked about that at home. We talked about that at school. Now, reporting. We just went over that. So I'm going over it real briefly. When a child comes to you, please take the time to listen. Man,
please
don't start judging because they need a safe space. Obviously, they may think you are a safe space. So you are listening to understand. You're not listening to respond like most of us do. You're listening to understand. So you can get the information because by the time you go report, you're reporting what they have said with an understanding heart. All right. Remember that the child will feel guilty. So you're going to have to make them feel that you're going to protect them. Look, keeping the commandments and keeping the Bible commandments is about justice.
Absolutely.
About justice.
Justice.
About justice.
Yes. On the behalf.
It's all about justice.
It's all about justice.
So you got to be the one that gives the child a safe space. I'm going to tell. I'm going to make phone calls. You sit right here. We got you. You make sure that child is safe while you making phone calls, and doing what you need to do. You reinforce to them that they have done the right thing.
The right thing.
Right? Because they're going to view tattletelling as punishment because they've already been groomed. And then that person probably threatened to kill them, their family. So it's a big deal when a child comes to tell you. Now, the statistics for false reporting is very low.
Isn't it 1%?
And that's usually done with people who having custody battle issues, divorce, then a child may do that. So we do have that going on. But see, that's why you're going to report it to the police and you're going to make sure you take the child to the doctor so the doctor can check to see, if they have been abused, then you're going to take them to the child psychiatrist, because the psychiatrist going to figure out if they lying. So you ain't got to worry about, if they lying. No, you're going to know, because you are educating yourself to know that these are the steps we take to find out if it's a lie. Because we love to say the children is always lying, the woman is always lying, the man is always lying, the victim is always lying, and you not even educated to know that if you take your narrow behind with that child to the child psychiatrist, they're going to tell you if that child is lying, because they are skilled and trained in that area, not you.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Let me calm down.
Absolutely.
It's okay, my sister. Okay.
That's it.
It's very, very important. And even to the point where I was told not too long ago from someone, or a case about a child who was being fondled, and how a older person who loved them saw it and told them, pulled them to the side, and don't you ever I don't care who he is, don't you let anybody touch you like that.
Yes.
And that woman stood up after being a grown woman and saying, I told that person, no, so-and-so told me you do not get to touch me like that. So you are never going to touch me like that.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we need.
We have to figure out a way, be somebody's champion.
Yes.
You know what? I don't care. If I see it,
I don't care.
I don't care that you're mad at me. I don't care that you don't like me. Join the other 52 million people in the world who don't. I don't care that what you have to say negative about me. If it needs to be spoken to, it needs to be spoken to. Because children, especially with the part, Christina, where you brought out that the person will begin this whole diabolical process. Child, bring that baby on over to my house. He can stay here with me. She can stay here with me while you go out and take care of your business. Not even realizing that the child is being this perpetuation of rape and molestation and sexual assault is happening in their life. This is it is terrible to the point. And Deborah just bringing out that those the difference between, because sometimes people don't realize the difference between that. If you are, somebody comes up to you and fondles you, that's molestation. You can go to jail. You need to go to jail, because what do we learn in the kindergarten? Keep your hands to yourself.
It's true.
I was blown away with even, with these smartphones, just being online. They don't even have to even be there to touch you, just showing you these pictures and forcing these things and these things. And this is how they draw these young girls, and it's a lot of things. So you got to be careful of them on their phones and on the internet. It's sad.
And when you're in high school, in college, and I retired from a university, the stories of young ladies, they're freshmen and they got a handsome little boyfriend. So they send their boyfriend their nude picture, and then they break up. He get mad at her. And then all of a sudden her nude picture
all over the
viral all over
and it affects even their job status and different things when they go for certain positions. And that's a form of sexual harassment and sexual abuse.
Absolutely.
Because they did not give them consent to show these pictures around. And sometimes they use I was watching something where they were, use another phone or some kind of way where it doesn't even relate to them, where it's just really horrible. It's horrible. So you really have to be careful and just
our young women, you have to know that your body is a precious temple. It's precious.
Yeah.
You don't have to allow anyone to touch you, fondle you, look at you, grope you. Nobody gets to touch you. If they touch your hair, and you don't want them with their hands in your, you need to be turning around saying, "Excuse me, teacher, you touch my hair. Don't put your hands in my hair. Keep your hands to yourself." You don't get to, but these things, when they are not talked about, and when our girls feel like, when we tell our girls that they're fast, yeah, she look like she fast. How does a baby girl 11 years old look like? How does that look? Because she's beginning to develop. How is that fast? How is that?
Degrading them, telling them they're ugly, and making them feel less of themselves. And they feel like, if anybody, and that's a form of abuse.
Yeah,
just as Christine was talking about grooming, that can happen even in the family dynamics.
Yeah,
family members doing this.
It happens all the time.
Incest. Yeah,
all the
so
time.
we're going to hear some things from
I know grown women who don't want to go to family reunions because they were targeted by an elder uncle who spread all kind of malicious lies while he was sexually assaulting them. So we're gonna just go ahead, Christina, and
we got
introduce you.
Part of it was definitely.
Yes, I'm glad she got her phone. It was crashing, but she figured it out. We're gonna introduce our guest panelists. Listen. Listen, she is going to come with her testimony, okay? So that you can hear a real live testimony of someone who has lived this and is going through healing and deliverance and using her voice, which most of us are not going to do, to help others to understand that this happens. It hurts, you have trauma, but you can heal and be delivered and help others. So I'm going to let her tell her a testimony. And then if you have questions in the chat, you can, because we got part 2 coming, but we're going to let Miss Sister Bethany come on and share your testimony, sister.
Shalom, shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
Well, I'm going to take it when I was born. I was not in my mother's care for 48 hours. Not even 48 hours. When she told me as I was growing up that the cops came to take me out of her care because my dad told them that she was unfit. So now I've been in the system. So I was in the system until I was like, 4, 5, 6, somewhere around there, 7. And let's just say that it was me, my brother, and my sister at the time. From as I was growing up, they told us, well, we had to keep y'all together. So she was a sweet old lady. Her name is Ann, and Ken at the time, he passed away a couple years ago. They were white, but they were friendly and loving. Sorry, that's my children. So we celebrated holidays, Christmas and stuff like that, but we never went to church. I did not experience church until I came down to be with my dad's side of the family. So one day, a lady said, "Come get this nigger's child away from me." Now I'm young. I did not know what that word meant around that time. And she said, "Don't you ever disrespect this little girl like that again." And she smacks her out of the chair, and she took us home. Couple of days after that, the state comes and says, "Well, they're requesting for Lorraine and her sister and brother into the system. They're fighting for custody." She was heartbroken. I seen it on her face. She broke down. So as we pack up and we leave, she gives us her number and says, "If anything happens, call me." I did not know what that meant at the time. I'm over here thinking, well, if I feel lonely and I need a friend, I can call her. As time went on, now I'm in my dad's care and his family. And let's just say the first year was fine. As time approached, we started seeing a difference. Whippings, I never experienced them, you know. So at this point, whipping started happening. Why aren't you telling me what I'm getting whipped for? You knew better than to do that. I did not know what I did because I was only doing what was natural for me to do as a child. So after the whooping, that's when they told me, well, you knew better than to go in the fridge without asking. Mind you, when I was in my foster parents' care, we can go in the fridge, no problem. I'm home. This is a new environment. Y'all did not tell me what the rules were. Y'all just told me as time went along what a whooping, and you tell me after you whoop me. So now I feel abused around that time. But
Bethany, how old were you?
man, when I was in my dad and them care, I was again somewhere around what 5, 6, 7, somewhere around there.
Okay.
I do now. What I do remember was around my 8th birthday. Oh my father! That's when a wake up call was happening, and I did not know what was going on because I woke up with my dad on top of me, and I'm looking. I don't know what is going on, and it's like, wow, what is this feeling? It hurts. So as I had to, when he got finished clean, yes, he came in me. Like every time he did it with me, he penetrated in me. There was one time where my sister was right next to me, and he would either be inside of her while using his fingers on me, or reversed. But if it's too graphic, let me know because I will be transparent. Um, there were times when I would wake up in the middle of the night and he's on my sister, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like now, I have thoughts that I should not have. Like I should be playing with baby dolls. I should be playing with toys and riding bikes, playing with my friends. But we were meant to be isolated because we would open up our mouth. We would talk. I know I would have. Because when I went and I told someone, which is my grandmother, stop that lying. How am I lying? Have you told anybody else? No, ma'am, you're the only one I told. Well, don't tell nobody. You get the whole family in trouble. Oh, so now at that moment in time, now I feel like a check baby. And what I mean by a check baby is because when you adopt a child, the state pays you to take care of that child. So now I feel like you are only taking care of me for money. As I grew up, And my dad did it again. Like I said, he did it since I was young. The only time he did not do it when he found out I was pregnant. And I was pregnant at the age of 13. I did not have my firstborn child until I was 14. And but before then, I already had suicidal thoughts. And now I'm like, okay, so I feel like everything is taken from me. I can't even go to the bathroom without burning down there. When my grandma did take me to the doctors, yeah, we're going to give her a physical checkup and stuff like that. Tell me why the doctors wanted to see me by myself, but she would not allow it. So when I finally did go to the doctors by myself, I was 15 though. And this was after I gave birth to my daughter, and I told them to go ahead and do a physical on me. So this way I can have some proof that this man was touching me. And then proof finally started. And then that's when they wanted to get the cops and stuff involved with the doctors that I was talking to. Let's just say my grandmother got the whiff of it, and let's just say I had life handed to me within that moment. She told him about it, and it felt like it was worse after that. So, like, I used to smoke cigarettes, I turned to sex, I turned to drinking, anything to suppress the pain when I was 15. But before all of that, I was already trying to think of ways to kill him. Like, okay, so I know if I kill you, they're gonna come for me. So I don't mind dying because you took the very essence away from me. You took my life already. So I feel like I'm walking dead. So therefore, I don't mind taking your life. I'll be right behind you because I want to fight you in the afterlife too. So in my again, I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in anything at this point because when we went to church, I couldn't tell anybody, and I felt like everybody around me knew because they knew you and you were doing this to me. And even though my grandmother said don't tell anybody else, I did anyway. So it didn't matter. At this point, I don't care about the pain you inflict on me. I became used to it already. So physical pain is nothing to me. So the fact of the matter, it did not matter who I told. They went back and told them. So once they found out, I got whooped because I should have never said anything. What goes on in this house stays in this house. I said, well, I'm hurting in this house. So what do you want me to do? I'm hurting. So they took my voice away around that time. And the only one that fought for me was my brother and my sister. So they became my voice because it felt like I felt like that was going to be my life. There was no way out. So I was taught the word forgive. Forgive. Forgive who? Forgive him? I forgive him when I kill him. So that was my mindset. And when I was young, I was like, you know what? If I have girls, I promise to protect them with my life. I can't see them to go through the same thing that I went through. And as time went on, my aunt in the family, she's the evangelist of the family, and she was like, well, babe, you gotta forgive. 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 I did not know what that word meant. I knew what vengeance meant, and I wanted to take revenge for myself. So he treated me more like his wife than a daughter, though. And what I mean by that is get up and go take a shower, get ready for school, but before you do that, make me a cup of coffee or whatever it was. So I said, okay. So as I got up, took my shower or whatever, mind you, I had to wash myself with lukewarm water down there because I'm burning. It hurts. I put my pills in his coffee. Hopefully that'll do the trick. Because at that time they gave me Ritalin. So around that time, he's laying in the bed. My grandma comes in. He's unresponsive, and I'm just looking at him because I wasn't gonna call for help. So all of this happened when I was 10, though, not when I was 15. So I took it back some. So when I was 10, yes, I put Ritalin in his coffee. So now I'm plotting with my sister of how can we do away with him. We can't lift the body. He too heavy. So what can we do? So as we got older, yeah, I told him. I told him yes. When he was unresponsive, it was me. I should have you locked up. I said, well, you wasn't going to defend me. I had to defend me in every way which possible. So instead of growing up playing with dolls and being the girl that I wanted to be, I'm over here thinking about criminal intent. Like this is intentional. Like whatever crime I put on you, I meant it, and I don't feel sorry for it. When I finally had my daughter at 14, I wasn't so loving. I was not loving at all. I did not know how to love a child, and one by him at that. No. So every time she used to cry, I would look at her. My grandma would get up and get her. Why are you just looking at her for? I didn't ask for her to be here. Y'all coached me into having her here. I wanted to have an abortion. So y'all forced this on me. Now I got to face, I have to look at, I don't even know the word to put it in right now. I have to look at her knowing that she came from a product of him. So no, I don't want to take care of her. I didn't ask for her to be here. So now I have a mind of, man, at this point, I sure enough wasn't a mother. I didn't know what to call myself because I didn't even experience life of my own. And you forcing me to take care of a child that I didn't ask to be here, and especially from my own dad. So yes, because before then they coached me into keeping her. Well, God don't. That's an abomination in God's eyes. You ain't supposed to kill a child, and she's life in you. I ain't trying to hear that. I'm not trying to hear that right now. I'm hurt, and it feels like y'all are throwing away my hurt just to get another paycheck, and you're using my unborn child to do so. No, I wanted that. Time went on, thought about it. So my aunt coached me through keep the child. I kept her when she was born. Again, I seen her cry. I wasn't taking care of her. I gave everything to my grandma and my other aunt. So I just felt like I was stuck and did not know how to get out within that time. So by them forcing me to watch her, I would just watch her with my eyes, not watch her with my actions as far as feeding her, make sure she's changed and stuff like that. I would just look at her. And then I was met with a hand smacked across my face, like, why are you watching this child cry? I just shrugged my shoulders like, I don't care. So she kept hitting me. I don't care. Your hit is not budging me because I know already how it feels to be abused by your son. So therefore, I don't care. I can care less about the hits. You better be glad I don't call Child Protective Services on you. I don't care. So as time went on, I was like, you know what? I don't want to carry this bitterness anymore. So I'm over here praying to a God I really don't believe in, but now I just don't know what, and I don't know any other way. So now I'm like, what can I do? So I called my aunt up and I'm like, what do you want me to do? What do I do with this? She says, forgive him. So I forgave him and let him back in my life after that. So right after, yeah. So right after I did, a year went by, everything was good within that year. I'm like, listen, I forgive you. I just want a father-daughter relationship. I don't know what it feels to have one. So around that time, I'm searching for one. I'm searching for a father. And I wanted it in him because he's my dad. So I was trying to throw everything else to the side, like they taught me, and to start afresh. That did not work out so well because when I said that, I said I'll do anything to get away from here, it's because they're making matters worse, and I wanted to give them another chance. So I'm gonna take you to New York to meet your mother. I went to New York with him, but I never met my mother. So things happen. Yes, I think. So things happened when I was in New York. What's going on? Things happened when I was in New York, to where now I don't know anybody, and he can do whatever it is he wanted to do to me. So now even though I didn't have protection then, I'm definitely left without protection now. So we went to Bryant's Park, Central Park, over there on Park Avenue, Times Square, and all those places. He raped me when it was nighttime, and he said, "I want you to go down on me." I said, "You is a fool to think that." So when yes, so I said, "Excuse me, you ain't going to sleep until you do what I told you to do." Oh, okay. Not realize I was met with a punch to my temple. So now, now these are hits that I have not experienced, and I'm 15. So he has his knuckles like this, like right here where that point is, and he goes here. So by then, like, I'm dizzy. Okay. So I'm like, okay, fine, all right. And I do it. He said, well, if we did it the first time, we would never been right here. We would never have this problem. So now I'm like, okay, I got myself in a worse situation. Now I feel guilty about forgiving. I feel guilty about even listening to what my aunt had to say about God and all of that. Now I am in a world of regret. Now I hate you even more. And now I'm hating myself even more because now I wish I was dead. So now I'm smoking cigarettes, smoking weed, and drinking. And whoever came up to me and said, "Hey, Shorty, how you doing? You are so beautiful." That's who I gave myself to. But I had to know you first. I didn't just do it with anybody. But if I knew you and I trusted you, then yeah, I'll give myself to you. I wasn't like a streetwalker. No, none of that. I had to know you. So I called up my homeboy at that time, and I'm like, "Listen, I need your help." I didn't tell him what I needed help with. I'm just saying I need your help. So he was like, "What's up? I got you." So I literally put his hands on me for him to touch me wherever, just to get my own death touch off of me. And it's because it felt like it didn't matter if I washed, I felt dirty. So around that time, I did not know anything about walking spiritually at all. So I was trying to find whatever, however, whenever I could to come out of the hurt. But it felt like nothing I ever did worked. So in order to be numb, I burnt myself with cigarettes. I would put the lighter to my mouth to burn the roof of my mouth or whatever, however I wanted to feel. I will burn myself in areas that you shouldn't have. Anything to feel because I felt numb. I felt dead and I needed something to help me to feel like I'm alive. So around this time, in order to get sleep, I had to give it up. In order to even get off the streets to have a motel room or to shower properly, he paid the clerk and I had to pay him. So it was like I can't win for losing at this moment. Like I already feel worse. So if this is gonna be my life, then the heck with it. I'm done. I'm tired. I see no way out. So all of the hurt and everything, when I finally got in my mom's care, the only reason why I got in my mom's care is because he was smoking crack on the corner and the cops caught him and they took him to jail. And that's when he told them her mother stays in such and such a place. You can have her there. So the cops take me to Mount Vernon where my mother lived. And that's where I was. And that's how I got to see my mom. When he got out, he bammed on the door to get me. So I'm like, you know what? He's going to break the doggone door down. So like, Lorraine, don't answer the door. I'm like, Ma, it's either me or it's you. I said, he already started it off with me. We already made it this far. So before he gets you, let it end with me. All right. So because he was hurting my mom too. So I can't expect for my mom to help me if he's hurting her as well. So my mom didn't know what to do at the time. She was scared for her life. So I opened the door and I went with him. She said, "Why would you do that?" I said, "It's either me or you." And I went with him. So around that time, he said, "Oh, so you thought you was gonna just stay with your mom, huh? What all did you tell her?" I said, "I told her whatever it is that I needed to tell her to get away from you." And that's when he started asking me who's touched me since he was locked up, this, that, and the third. Like, I'm like, "What? You my dad. Doesn't matter who touched me, you shouldn't be touching me. Like, you acting like this is an abusive marriage that I'm in. I don't want this." So the next thing I knew, the telephone pole that was right there, my head met it. You're not gonna be disrespecting me. You're not gonna be talking to me any kind of way. See, I can be very open and transparent with you ladies versus trying to tell this to another male. I feel more comfortable talking this about females. So that's why I'm going all out the way I am right now. So, but the fact of the matter is, growing up, he forced me to have sexual intercourse with my sister and my brother while he sat in the back in the dark, lit a cigarette, and watched. So yeah, growing up was kind of tough. When I finally when he finally got locked up again though in New York, um, he was supposed to been at court, but he didn't go to court, so they issued a warrant for his arrest, and he had 2 years. So I'm like, okay, this is my scapegoat. I can get away, like for real, for real. So they took me back to my mother's house though, and I know I'm jumping all over the place, but still,
Bethany, how old are you at this point that they took you back to your mom's house?
I was, well, 15 is when I went with him to New York.
Okay.
So I went back to my mom's house after the first lockup, 17, the second lockup,
Okay. Second up, 17.
because at this point, the states came in to take us back because now they considered me a runaway. And they would have been right. I say, yeah, I ran away from home. I don't want to be there because I didn't. So, but before then, it gets crazier because I did not know around that time that my mom didn't even want me. And it took my sister to tell me. She said, "Well, you remind mom of dad, and she can't stand to look at you. She doesn't want you here." I said, "Oh, okay." So being unwanted is nothing new for me. So every time somebody got close to me anyway, I pushed them away because you're getting too close. So I did not really know how to keep friends. And when I did, I knew I could be friends with you, but the ones that was just coming in and this and that, I didn't know how to be friends with you. So I don't want to be around hardly anybody because I did not know who to trust. So I started liking women because I hated men. Did I touch another woman? Yes. Did we go that far? No. That was another whooping on my tail because he told me the only ones that I am allowed to lay down for is him and my uncle. I am not allowed to be touched by anyone else, whether female or male, unless it's him or my uncle. It's like, if this is my life, it is what it is. So I just gave up at that point. because yes, around 17, that's yes, around 17, I'm like, you know what, it is what it is. That's when they took me home, back to North Carolina, back under the care of his mother. Now that does not mean so within the gap span, I kept getting pregnant by him, and I had abortion. I had about 5 or 6 abortions by him because he took me to the clinics to get it done, and I had to use other people's names just to get an abortion. So he talked on my behalf because if I was to speak, I'll mess everything up. So I wasn't allowed to speak. He said, "Let me do the talking. You don't say anything," and I just had to keep my mouth closed. So and then I already gave up. I already know I don't have a voice. So at that time, I just shut down. I stopped. So I started catching pain in my upper abdomen, and I had gallstones. So I had to go to Roosevelt Hospital to get those removed in New York. So after all of that is said and done, you know, um, yes, I was escorted back to High Point. I mean, not High Point, North Carolina. I think it was Greensboro at the time. Around this time, Zoe is a couple years old. I think it's 7. I think she was 7 years old. And you're like, "Hi, mommy, I missed you." I didn't know how to answer that. I just looked at her. I missed her first walk. I missed her first words and everything. And I beat myself up over it because I'm like, well, one thing that they were telling the truth about, she was an innocent child, and I took all my anger out on her, and I should not have been. But I did not know how to be a mother. I did not know how to love a child that came from your own, family member. So I grew up with hate and rebelliousness. So as time went on, I learned how to love her. And I said, I apologized to her. I said, "Listen, I know my apologies don't make up for the abuse that I put on you, but can you please forgive me for being unfit for you?" And I did. And me being transparent to my children to let them know that I did not have it all together, I don't feel not a shed of guilt. I don't have guilt for that because I needed to come outside of my hurt. I needed to come outside of unforgiveness. I needed to come outside of everything that had me bound in order to see. Like, for example, everything that my dad did when I was little growing up, I had no control of that. But everything outside of that was my choices and my decisions that I made when I could have chose better, but I didn't know any better. So once you know better, you do better. At least that's what was told, because you got some people that know better and they still won't do better. So when I when I turned my life over to God at the time, became a Christian and stuff like that, I I don't know, I still felt strange and off. Like something still wasn't right, like I still didn't fit in, but here I am though. So I had to start somewhere. And around this time, it was just me and my grandmother. And around that time, she opened up and she said, "Lorraine, I need to talk to you." I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "I know you don't like me." I said, "Okay, I apologize." "What do you want me to do with this?" Like, I don't know what you want me to do with this apology that you're giving me. Like, why are you apologizing? Not realizing when Zoe got took to get tested was the only reason why then she believed me that that was her son's child. And I'm like, you know what? I accept your apology, but I don't think I can forgive you for real because I'm here right now. I'm only asking her to forgive me because I took all that anger that I had for y'all and I took it out on her. That's the only reason why I'm apologizing to her because she didn't deserve it. She was innocent in all of this. But your apology towards me, I don't think I can accept it. So even though, again, I was in the Christian church and stuff like that, they will say, babe, you got to pray about it. I can pray all day long. What's the steps? Like, I'm tired of y'all telling me to pray about it, pray about it, pray about it. I can pray until snot come out my nose. What's the steps? I need the steps. They will not give me the steps. Give it to God. You know, that's easy said than done when I don't know what to do besides just talk. Talk like, give me what I need to do. Well, give it to God. You know what? You and now around this time, I am gonna say it like this. Around this time, I say, you know what? You and your God can go to hell because I'm tired of you telling me to give it to God. You ain't giving me the steps. I'm now you made me mad. now you know what? Just forget it all. And around that time, I stopped going to church. I'm drinking again, smoking weed because this is all I know. Though this is all I know. So I went back to what I knew. So pretty much, I went back to my own vomit, and I don't know how many times I did that for. So sex, drinking, smoking was all I knew. When I when I felt like I was getting better, when I really felt like I was getting better, my grandma let him back in. I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? Like I gotta face this man all over again. You let him come back after the heartily talk we had, you apologize and everything, and you let him back in. Oh my gosh. And around this time I'm 19. Now I'm hurt. I don't know how to feel. All the pain that came rushing back even harder. You know what this ninja did to me, and you go let him back in. I don't care how y'all feel about him. He is my son. Ooh, all right. All right, you can go to hell with your son too. So now I became very disrespectful. I did not care what flew out my mouth at that point. I felt like my voice came back, but it came back in a disrespectful manner, worse than it did before. When I called my mom, I said, Mom, I know that we don't have the best of relationships, but I need to talk to you. I need somebody to talk to. I don't have a father. I don't want to be left without both parents. I did not know. I mean, I grew up yearning for my parents, and I did not have that in the way that I thought I did. So I felt like I could reach back out to my mom and let her know, look, mom, man, I don't know how much I can do it. Well, Lorraine, just be happy that some man loves you. Now, I done called her the B word. What did you just say to me? Did you just say, be glad? Okay. So I have no more respect for you either. So now, around this time, I done cut myself with knives. I done tried to take my own life out of here. I am crying in the middle of the night. Don't see my way out. My nights have become long. And I was torn, man. I was just torn. But now when I look at it, I'm like, Father, I thank you for what I've been through, what I've gone through. I can thank him now because a lot of people are like, well, the way you speak, it feels like the hurt is still there. But to be honest, sometimes, yeah, the hurt does come back. You know, my mind goes through a spin sometimes. Sometimes I go to bed and I dream about it. Sometimes, it crosses my mind, not realizing, like, I really want to sit here. Let me think about this today. No. So I feel like every time I move forward, my old life tries to call me back, but I have to fight. That's why endurance is such a powerful thing because you have to endure. But yeah, nowadays when my dad, um, Anthony Douglas, and my mom, Patricia Douglas, they taught me how to actually step by step how to heal, what to look for, what to ignore, who to get rid of out of your life, who to keep in your life. So when dad always said we're stronger together, that we are stronger together than apart because we feed off of each other's, I'm gonna say feed off of each other's energy. Our spirituality is like, but you have to be careful who you connect to, because not everybody has good intentions for you. When I met him at the church I used to go to called Morning Glory, he was our piano player and he played for our church, and that's how I met him. And the members there, well, the ones that was on the praise team with me, I said, there's something about him that just stands out. He's married, Lorraine. Heifer, I don't want him. I'm just telling you, there's something about him that stands out amongst the rest. I got to get to talk to him. So I go talk to him. I'm like, hey, yeah. So we just started talking just a little bit. I'm like, listen, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I'm just, you really think I got it? Because we was going over a song. He said, you got it. You got it. By the time I really wanted to talk to him, they came out. Lorraine. I'm like, I can't even get a word. These people really think I want this man. So I'm like, yes. So the next rehearsal came by, and he said, I'm gonna give you my wife's number so you could talk to her. So he gave me her number. I spoke to her. Around that time, I didn't know what she was saying because she was Father out beyond the name Yahusha Hamashiach. But around that time, I'm like, what kind of language is she speaking to me? Because I don't understand this language. So I said, hello, are you there? so she just kept praying. She just kept going. But as time went on, I got to understand. I got to understand. But before then, before all of that happened, to take it back, I was pregnant again by him, but this time with Lucille. I have two living children by my own dad. And I wanted to give her up for an adoption though. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. So my aunt, my other aunt, she's not an evangelist, but I'm like, when she came over, she said, lift your shirt up. I lift my shirt up. She said, again? I said, yes. She said, Mom. She said, and then my grandma said, look, don't start with me. She said, you know what, I'm tired of this. So she called her son to come to pick me and my grandmother and Zoe and pack us all up, and we left. So while my dad was out getting his next fix, he came back to an empty house. And right then and there, I felt like, I wouldn't say a load lifted, but I can breathe just a little bit. And then I was like, it felt like I went from one situation to the next though. Because when she moved me into her place, I'm like, you can't live anywhere for free anyway. So I was getting a disability because me working, I did not get along with people and I did not mind to fight you, even on the job if I had to. So therefore, I was getting disability because my mind wasn't, all the way there with dealing with people. I don't deal with a lot of people. I'm friendly to a lot of people, but that don't mean I'm a deal with a lot of people. So so I'm on disability, whatever. And she says, I need your help. I said, what you need me to help me with? Well, you can't stay in the house for free. Life ain't, free. So I said, okay, so what do you need me to help you with? She said, I need you to help me with my license, your license. She said, yeah. I said, how much is it going to take to do that? Mind you, I'm pregnant. 5 months pregnant. So having an abortion was out of the question anyway. But my thing was to give her up for an adoption, not having an abortion. Because at least in the Christian church, at least one of them did tell me that having an abortion is an abomination in the eyes of Yah. I said, okay. So what about an abortion? I mean, what about an adoption? So they gave me adoption papers when I went to the clinic or whatever. So forth. But around that time, when I was with my aunt living in her house, 12 o'clock in the morning, around that time, it was God for me. Because she was the one that led me to God and told me everything is going to change from this point on and stuff like that. So I put my trust in her. And in the middle of the night around 12:30ish, I wanted to go to sleep, but I couldn't go to sleep. And only thing I heard was a gentle voice say, keep her. Keep her. Keep her who? Who am I keeping? I'm like, the devil is a lie, and I go back to sleep. Around this time, it's probably about 1:30 something, 2 something in the morning now. Woke up again. Keep her. Keep her who? All right, I'm going back to sleep. I ain't got time for these voices. So I went in the room, knocked on my auntie's door. I'm like, yo, are you trying to talk to me about something? She said, girl, if you don't go to bed, I'm in here asleep. I ain't talking to you. I said, okay. All right. So I'm trying to go back to sleep, and around 3 something in the morning, keep her. I said, you know what? It is what it is. First I said, I rebuke you, Satan, in the name of Jesus. I did all of that. And then keep the child. Oh, I know you bugging. I know you tripping for real. Keep the child. She's just, I don't know what to do around this note. And I know a lot of people may not understand, but I'm like, Father, you want me to keep a child that I didn't even ask to even lay down for this man to keep her? You want me to do what? If you want me to raise her, if you want me to keep her, you're gonna have to show yourself to me then. Show yourself to me. Show me who you say you are. So she's gonna have to look like me, because I cannot raise a child that looks like him, and I already know she's a product of him, but having her look like him is gonna set me off, and I don't want to repeat the same mistake like I did with my first one. So I need you to help me, please. Help me through this. I have no funds. My aunt is taking my money so she can get her license renewed. What do I have? Only thing I have is WIC, no food stamps, and disability. And she gets that. So what is this? I said, you know what? Okay, fine, I'll keep her. And I went back to sleep. I slept for the rest of the morning. I didn't wake up till about 10. So around that time, okay, days go on, days go on. Now my dad calls my grandmother and he's in jail. She accepts the call, give her my aunt's number, who I'm staying with. And she said, I know you lying, calling my phone, thinking you what? We got a lot to discuss, but I'm not here to talk. So within that moment, I hear her cussing and fussing, and I'm like, wow, she's fighting on my behalf. Like finding somebody loves me enough to fight for me. Like, so I'm like, thank you, God. But as she passed me the phone, I'm like, what? I just praised you a few minutes ago, and I feel guilty for doing this now. All right. So she passed me the phone. I'm like, are you serious? Hear what he has to say. I don't want to hear nothing this ninja has to say. Get that phone away from me. She said, listen, forgiveness is key to your healing. That don't mean you have to let him back in your life, but just forgive him. Again, nobody taught me true forgiveness, or what maybe she was trying to and I overlooked it because I'm still hurting. I'll put it that way. But again, I did not know true forgiveness. and true letting things go until I came to Seventh Day Harvest. But yeah, forgive him and let it go. So I took the phone. Did you tell anybody what happened? I said, yes, yes. I told everybody in this family what happened. So this is when he calls me out of my name. I'm no good. Nobody's ever going to love you. You're ruined. The only one that is ever going to receive love is your sister because she's fair skinned. She's beautiful. She's more better than you. I mean, I was compared to my sister growing up anyway. So that really didn't phase me none, compare me to anybody. But the only thing you're ever gonna have going for you is your body, because that's the only thing that's gonna help you to get a man. Those words broke me, because my mother already told me he's the only man that is ever gonna love me, so I should be grateful. And then I have to hear this from him, and then getting already torn and beat down. So growing up, I did not feel beautiful as it is. I did not feel worthy of anything as it is. The only thing I felt like I was worthy of is death. But I promise you, I will protect my children with my life, though. So you getting to them, I'm going to teach them. So when my children got older, I taught them. I taught them raw material, though. I didn't put it in rated PG-13. No, I gave them rated TVMA, the version, by me telling them, you never let nobody touch your vagina area. You never let nobody touch your anal, and you don't put your mouth on anybody. You don't let nobody touch you in any way possible. You, if anybody thinks about touching you in a disrespectful manner, you come and you tell me, and I will handle it from there. So yeah, they questioned me, Mom, you gonna call the cops? I said, no, I am the cop. I'll be the cop. I don't have time to be going through all this paperwork. I mean, all this other stuff, because the way my mind is set up with my children, no, I need to see justice served right here and now. But as time went on, I taught them what sex was, because the school only taught them the version of wear a condom and this, that, then the third. I said no, don't wear anything. Just keep your legs closed until the father gives you the rightful one that's supposed to be for you. What does that mean, Mom? I said, honey, I'm learning myself. So as time went on and I was learning, I fed them. So everything, like, I was still drinking and smoking around that time. Don't get me wrong. I was. I was even going to the assembly high and still doing what I wanted to do. Just because I came into Yahusha Hamashiach 2019, I was coming to the knowledge of who he is and who I am and whom's I am. I was coming into the knowledge, but that doesn't mean I was living righteously in the knowledge that I was learning. I was only getting mental information. I was getting that spiritual information, but I wasn't living right. Why? I was still hurting. I did not know how to let the hurt go, because now holding on is my familiar. And what if I let my familiars go? It's my familiar. If I let this go, then what? What am I to expect? I have to walk into the unknown, and I don't know what that is. So this is all I know all my life. So I always taught my children around that time when I was getting high. I got high right in front of them. They could be in the house. I'll be in the kitchen. I'll have my margarita on the table, and I have my cigarettes and my weed. And I told them, if you ever feel like drinking or smoking, you do it at home where I know you're safe, because I don't trust nobody out there. And I did not know that I was feeding them all this toxicity of my hurt into them, to where when I started cleaning up, and I had to ask the Father to help me through it, because I love these things more than I love you. I love the sex and the drinking and the weed and the cigarettes. I loved how it made me physically feel. But I did not know it was killing me from the inside out, because, again, these are my familiars. This is what I'm comfortable with. So Father, if you want me to love you more than this, you're going to have to take this from me, because if you don't, I'm just going to continue to do what's normal for me, because I love these things more than you. I had to cry out to him. There's nights I wouldn't even go to bed because I had so much on me. When you talk about tearing in the middle of the night, crying, snotting, and just letting it all hang out to the Father. If you don't have anybody else to talk to, you could talk to the Father. He ain't gonna tell you business unless he's gonna tell somebody else to prophesy into your life of what needs to be done and what don't need to be done. That's the only way. But other than that, he ain't gonna tell your business. He ain't gonna gossip about you. So I learned how to open up more to the Father once I came into Seventh Day Harvest. So at least at Seventh Day Harvest, I thank the Father for the founders. I thank the Father for, he will give you another family. And as time went on, feast days and stuff came, I've met Auntie Deborah and Uncle. So I'm like, wow, these people really do love me no matter what. Like, I never had this love before. So there was times I will even sing on the praise team all looking crazy. And yes, the Father said, you're gonna have to sit down, because you can't be doing all of this in my name, trying to win souls over. God, you a hypocrite. Then I don't need no. But there's you can't sit here and you want help from the Father and you still trying to go about it your own way. See, I wanted to have my cake and eat it too. I wanted it to be my way. But my deliverance came when I was real with the Father, letting him know I don't love him like that. I love what I'm doing. So how do you want me to love you? To keep my commandments. Well, how in the world do I do that? How do I keep your commandments? Well, as you read on, fornicating was one of them, and I'm like, oh gosh, oh damn. I love sex too much to stop. So he said, well, that's the only way. When you break one, you break them all. So I had to ask for help, because only he can help me. Only thing y'all can do is encourage me through, give me scriptures to encourage me, but y'all can't walk this walk for me. I have to walk this walk for me. I'm gonna have to want this. So Mom Patricia Douglas always told me, well, you don't want it bad enough then. And Dad came along and said the same thing. You ain't desperate enough. You ain't desperate enough. If you was desperate enough, oh, you'll find a way. It's just like getting to your next fix. If you don't have any money and you want your next fix, you know how about doing that, don't you? It's the same thing with Abiyah. If you want him that bad, you'll know what to do. Are you willing to live? Are you willing to let go? If you're not willing to let go, then what good is it then?
So before Bethany, you get into the part and thank you for your testimony and being so open and transparent to us and to our listening audience. We do not take it lightly that you have come on here, and because understanding that you're talking to women who have also been victims of rape, incest, molestation, someone taking sexual harassment where someone in authority takes unsolicited advances over your life because they are in authority over your life. So let's get to the place where there was something that you said that I want you to really I guess just give us a understanding on that, because what a lot of people will say Well, but I know it started when you were a child, but by the time you're 17, you know better. Why would you go back over there? Why would you continue to sleep with this man? Why would
Fear.
you? Why would
I
you?
was
So what do you say to that? Because that's an important piece. Because I don't think that people understand where that place where a woman or a person is when she feels like she has no other recourse. Talk to that. Speak to that.
I, I was afraid. It was fear. I was fearful of him.
Mm-hmm.
So even from a distance, he had power over me. That's why when every time he called, I'll pick up because it was that fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I was afraid of him. Even in my teens, when you teens, well, I did not know how to, man. I don't care how strong a woman is. I don't think she can ever overpower a man's strength.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you know some kind of martial arts and stuff like that, then hey. But
Mm-hmm.
I did not know anything then.
And we
So I
need
did
to
not know.
learn that.
So I did not know how to fight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I knew how to fight women, but I did not know how to fight men.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, but I'll do. I did what I thought, what I knew to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was familiar, right?
Was
Yes,
familiar,
ma'am.
and it was fear. So the
Fear
fear,
and familiar. Mhm.
familiar, absolutely. So because sometimes I think that people sometimes don't understand uh that because they have not experienced it.
Mhm.
They don't understand the level of fear, anxiety, depression, the fear of the feeling of suicide. I just don't even,
Insecurity.
and insecurities, right? All of those things, how they compounded upon a young person, especially during those formative years between the time of when we talked about a woman first getting her menstruation at 12, 13 years old, all the way up to that time 17, 18, 19 years old, even 20 years old. You're a very you're in a position where you're trying to figure things out. You're trying to figure out, first of all, who you are. Now, on top of trying to figure out who you are, you have all of this on top of it. So I don't think that people, and someone in the comments has said, Brenda, he controlled her mind, therefore he controlled her. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I will always say a man cannot get to the southern region until he first gets to the northern region. There's no way that he's getting to the southern region until he controls here, the northern region. So and this is why I even call this place the holies of holies. When Jacob laid on that stone at that place, and he said, this place is none other than the house of Elohim, Beth El. He put his head on the stone, and where he laid his body was just like how the tabernacle itself was laid out. But that head was the holies of holies. That's the place where the thoughts and where you make decisions, the place where people know if they can get to you emotionally, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, then forget it. They got everything else because they got you here. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of times people don't understand that level. So they make statements like, I don't understand why she stayed with him that long while he was beating her. I don't understand why she allowed him to rape her. I don't understand why didn't you fight back? You could have fought him and stopped him from raping you. See, these statements are said by people who have never been raped.
That's right. That's right.
See that, and let
They
me say
haven't.
this though.
Said by people who have never been abused and never been molested, never dealt with incest. These things are said by people just coming out of their mouth and saying what they think has occurred.
But see, the thing about it, when fear gets a grip of you, it feels like you're paralyzed from fear.
Mm-hmm.
And when
Mm-hmm.
you get your voice beat out of you,
Mm-hmm.
you already feel like what else can be done? Like, what's the worst that can happen? I feel like I'm living my worst.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And like you said, this is my life. Okay.
yeah.
This is my life.
At that point, I gave up because now it felt like me fighting by myself wasn't enough. Fighting the best way you can. You voice yourself like, I don't like this. I don't like being touched by you. Can you stop this? What is wrong with you? This, that, there, and the third. And only thing you are met with is the back of a person's hand or their fist. I mean, after a while, it takes a toll. You become used to the beatings now. You become used to, every sexual position, everything you can think of sex. I learned it from him.
Absolutely.
Everything. So he also took me when even at a young age, when I was on my cycle, and I started my cycle when I was 8 or 9 years old, and even then he took me. I'll take you anyway. I don't care about this or that. I don't care about if you're on. You belong to me, type deal. So you talk about feeling downright disgusted,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and and then growing up, like
Mm-hmm.
like when I said my deliverance. The very last time I spoke to him was years ago, and I can't even. I think it was in my 20s, hitting my
Mm-hmm.
30s, and he said, "Can you ever forgive me?" I thought about it. And then I said yes. Did I really forgive him? No, but I said yes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So,
then I learned how to forgive.
mm-hmm.
I learned how
Mm-hmm.
to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
There was a picture that I have, and I looked at it, and it's a picture of him. And I look at it, and I'm like, you know what? I have to forgive you. With tears in my eyes, I know this is the right thing to do, even though it's the hardest thing to do, is forgive,
Mm-hmm.
especially my rapist.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I forgive you. Father, teach me how to forgive truly
Yeah.
and let it go so I can
Mm-hmm.
get my power back. Because
Right.
every time somebody, if you're a rapist or a person's murderer that murders somebody in your family or whatever, if they were to call your phone, will you answer? Yes, you probably will, or no, you probably won't, depending on the mindset. And my mindset was weak. So I
Mm-hmm.
answered, regardless of how far the person lived or how far he lived,
Mm-hmm.
I I still answered because fear gripped me. What would happen if he comes to my door, if he found out where I lived, and then this all happens again? Like, what? Let me go ahead and answer the phone.
Well,
What?
there is something that is very spiritual that happens between a man and a woman when there is that connection, and even if the line is crossed. This is why Father, in the scripture, it gives prohibition to family members crossing that line because you're already blood. You do not have to be should not be in that kind of covenant. So there's something that happens within a person body, once, especially as children, once they begin to be touched in a way that they should not be touched. So it's like a door opens, or a well of spring of emotions and feelings that's coming up too soon, that they can't help, because now that's physiological, that's biological. So when all of these things begin to happen, and when you, regardless to whether this man, and this is the point, regardless to whether this man is a father, brother, uncle, boyfriend, stranger, someone else, it's the same biological response in your body. So what then begins to happen is that then there's the desire for this person, even though you know that it's wrong, and I hate him, and I don't want to have anything to do with him. So it can go from either side, that you can have. That's why you have children who are abused. And a lot of times, it's not correct, y'all, that an abused child will run to the abused, the abuser parent, opposed to the parent that is trying to, protect them. So
familiarity too.
Absolutely. These things are in it, and all of it is touch censored, touch, feel, emotion, it is all relative to this rape, molestation, this sexual assault. And this is why we can no longer sit back and not say anything. We can no longer sit. We've got mothers, fathers. If you see something, if you see your child acting some kind of way, you need to sit down and start asking some questions. You need to start, okay, I'm going to start paying attention to this. I'm going to start, I need for you to tell me, has anyone ever put their hands on you or touched you in a way that is not, and for you not to have a champion, for you not to have, finally your aunt came in there as a champion to pull you out of there. Look how everybody backed and supported this rapist. This man, I don't even want to call him a man, this creature doing incest. I mean, when people talk about, oh my goodness, when people talk about men doing this to one of their daughters, or we know there's cases where women have done it to sons. Also, look, a sexual harassment, sexual assault is sexual assault. It doesn't matter whether you are a male or a female, and you're a criminal and you're a rapist, whether you are a male or a female. It doesn't matter. So when we look at these cases, there's so many times when the child has spoken out, but no one, look at your grandmother. What in the world? But that generation, that's that generation. That's the generation that we always talk about.
And it's still here. It's not even like it's past. We seeing that even today. And that's crazy.
Today, still. And everybody wants you to shut your mouth. Don't you say anything. You're going to mess up. You're going to ruin a good man. He's not a good man. The Bible says that he is to be taken outside of the wall and stoned. That's how good that's what he's good for. some rocks going upside his head. That's what he good for.
But you know what? I love something that Bethany said, and I just want to, and she wanted to expound on that, I believe, was the fact that she said, I had to get my power back. The process of learning how to forgive, it's not condoning what he did.
No,
that I got to get my power back.
That's right.
And wonderfully is her relationship with Hamashiach, her relationship with the Father.
Absolutely.
But there are those, and that's a wonderful thing, because her process of healing, and even that the Father, having that relationship, which is beautiful, but everybody don't. And there are those who are going through where even still needing their power back, if it takes therapy.
Correct. Absolutely. Therapy.
Therapy. Because sometimes one needs to have therapy, to learn how, because she kept saying, what are the steps? What are the steps? What are the steps? You can't tell me to forgive. What are the steps? Just telling me that ain't telling me nothing.
Or saying, get over it.
This, you ain't in my head. You ain't in my life. You don't know what I'm dealing with. And I'm still in this familiar thing because this is what all I know. All I know.
Absolutely.
So even as she's learning, and thank y'all for Moray, Douglas and Prophetess Douglas, that is a wonderful thing. And yet y'all will, the Most High will give you a mother. We'll give you a father after his heart. And that's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely.
And even how they, and she said, teaching her the steps. And some, it may require therapy, because I don't take away from therapy. So you can get your power back.
Absolutely.
Not that your power to go forth in life. That you can endure, that you can move on, and have a productive, a sane, some way of sanity, because that familiar place is insanity.
Yes, it is.
But that's all you know.
All you know. Absolutely.
So you need to know the steps. And I love how she said, what are the steps? I love how she opened up, because people don't talk about this.
No.
The steps. And then you tell me, what is forgiveness? I don't understand that. You're giving me words, but I don't know what you're saying. I don't, I think about years ago, she probably don't know nothing about that. Because I was a kid, remember? Where it was this robot, he said, Dr. Smith, that does not compute. That does not compute.
Dr. Smith, that does not compute. Right. Lost in space.
Lost in space.
But the forgiveness part, is for, and this is what I realized when I had to forgive. And even in forgiving myself. Forgiveness is for you. It is not for them. It is for you. Because the bottom line, according to the scripture, when we sin, we are, as the word, Hebrew word for sin and for forgiveness is kata. The same word. Why? Because repent. So sin and repent. Kata. So the sin, because when you sin, you're supposed to recognize it, admit to it, and ask for forgiveness and repent. There's no such thing in the Bible that says that we are supposed to sin and then we just go on and act like. But what happens with in our, because in our spiritual lives we have not had access to understanding the scripture like we really need to, in order for that kind of healing to take place. So people say, well, if you didn't forget, You didn't forgive. No, wait a minute. Wait. Because there's nothing in the Bible that says to forget. It never says forget. Father Yahweh always says, remember. Isn't that interesting? Remember. So when people say, oh, you're supposed to forgive and forget. No. You forgive, and that is so your heart and your mind and your body and your power can be released, and you can move forward in life to be what Father Yah has called you to be. But forgetting, our minds are like computers. They're not set up that way. You don't, once something happens to you or something occurs, you don't forget it. Now, your mind may put it back in, like I call, a little black box, like the airplane. The plane crashes, they go to what? The black box. So the mind will take these things and will compartmentalize them. And sometimes things that are done during our youth, this happened to me, didn't come out in my understanding and memory until I was 30 years old and almost broke down. I did not remember it until I was 30. What happened to me as a child when I suffered incest. And it almost made me lose my mind. I could not, I just, the photos, they were just like photos just coming up in my 30 years old. So our minds compartmentalize things. And if we can't handle it right then, sometimes our mind will put it back in that black box and hold it until we can remember it and can deal with it. So this is the thing, being able to deal with and being able to forgive, not for them, but for you. Because better believe, what's that song? Bet you by golly, wow, he gonna pay for that. He's not getting away with that, because that's a sin and a trespass against the very fiber of Father Yahweh's, the Most High's commandments and laws and judgment. And guess what? Just because you don't believe in keeping his commandments doesn't make you, absent. You are going to pay. When you sin, there is payment. So that's going, and this is why it's important for us to understand the power of forgiveness, because you forgive, and then Father Yahweh takes it up and he fights the battle and does what needs to be done to rectify that situation within the earth, within your life, with concerning him and all parties. So this
there
is
are
why
consequences.
There are consequences, and you're going to have to pay those consequences.
That's right.
They don't get away. So that's why it's important to forgive, because when you don't forgive, you're standing there holding this person. You're not letting them move, and you're not moving. You don't want them to hold you back.
And you're absolutely right in that. And another thing is, talking about getting your power back and being able to go on. And just as you said, that box, I love how you said, because it can bring back, and that's triggers.
Yep.
And if you don't forgive, if you, having a place where you not only forgive, but you are in that place of deliverance, whereas just as you said, you don't forget, because it's going to always be. And just as Destiny said regarding the flashes, or whatever, but when that time comes, when you let go of that baggage, Let go of that thing that's yet holding you, because you can't move on. And like you said, you're stuck. But once you forgive, it gives you the power back, and it gives you the ability to move on. And even what's greater is that when those thoughts come back, it won't trigger, it won't do anything to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's the wonderful thing, is that when those thoughts, because it's not going to be where it never comes back. You're going to, it could be at any time it comes. But when you know you are delivered, when you know that you can move on, is that it doesn't affect you. You're not being, it doesn't trigger you to bring you back to, where you like, whoa. Because sometimes we think we've overcome a thing, and those triggers, certain things happen, and you're triggered, a sound, a touch, anything that can happen that'll trigger something back. Then I still got work. And if it takes, like I said, therapy, or just continuing on the process of healing, because that we know that healing it can come, and it will come. Absolutely. But you got to work at it. And just as she said, you got to want it bad enough.
There you go. And because that's a discipline. And it's just like disciplining yourself not to sin. It's a discipline. It's just like when you discipline yourself, an athlete disciplines himself to get up 6 o'clock in the morning to go and begin their workout, because that's their job, or that's their what they do in life. That you disciplining that body so that those muscles get something, what is called muscle memory. So as you are doing your particular workout, that your muscles are remembering. Every time you get ready to start to do that workout, your muscles pull in and say, oh, we're getting ready to do this again. Muscle memory. So let's take that to this scenario right here, that as you are walking and trying your best, learning of the commands of the Most High, building that relationship with the master, then what's happening? That's a muscle memory. That's a memory in going in with your inward part. Your spiritual man is being built up. And then when those triggers or when those things happen, then you say, oh, you know what, Father, I forgave him for that. And you know what, Father, I moved on, because I am beautiful, because I am powerful, because I am altogether, and righteous before you, because not because of my righteousness, but because of your righteousness. I am absolutely beautifully, wondrously made. I am marvelously and wondrously made. Those things will then, that's that memory that comes back up. So how do we get that? As we continue these scriptures that are power scriptures. I'm telling you that when I was going through that time, that I put those scriptures was all over my house, everywhere I looked. And every time I read them, it was building my spirit man up, building that power up, giving me that's that muscle memory. That's that spiritual memory, remembering who I am, remembering. You might say that I'm nobody and that I don't look like but guess what? My Father has told me something different. So as I'm speaking those things and speaking that life, and like Prophetess Deborah said, sometimes being able to go and sitting down with a therapist, someone who is going to be consistent in building up that inner person, that inner, Bethany, where I'm okay, I am good enough. Because what those things take you to a place where you don't even feel like you're good enough. So when looking for someone who could be a husband material, I'm not really good enough for him. Though that's what that kind of stuff does. But as you are building yourself up in that in that level of I am good enough. I am marvelously, wondrously, and marvelously made. I am that Father took time to create me in my mother's womb. So I don't care what anybody else had to say. So it's all in that building of yourself, and that you put those people, what they told you, that's my girl, Prophetess Ezekiel. That talking about building that inner circle that you have around you. Christine, I need for you to talk about that inner circle and who should be in that inner circle, especially during these times.
Yeah, and that goes back to understanding, the trauma bonding, the chemical bonding that has happened. And like she was saying, you can pray all day, but there are some steps that you have to take. And one of them is what most of us are lacking is community. And then when you are going through healing, you have to have a very small very
Absolutely.
small circle. And this is what we do in our mental health, because you have to have people that is going to challenge you for a period of time to make sure that you are going to not be laxed in these steps. Because what happens is we get on, we get in community, and I find that as I'm doing my mental wellness community, and we have these challenges. Did you get up and exercise? Did you make your bed? These, even though you think it's trivial, like we're saying, it is retraining our brain. It is breaking chemical bonds. It is breaking physical bonds. It is exercising your muscle memory. So the importance of having community, and I'm not talking about this is why my heart is so heavy. I am not talking about just faith community. I'm
Right.
not just talking about just church and,
Right.
and assemblies. I'm talking about real community that's going to hold you accountable
Mhm.
to your healing.
Mhm.
And I'm talking about in all the whole man. Okay, scriptures, praying and fasting, but there are steps that Father wants us to take in the natural that will help our spirit man even to grow. So you have to have, it's very important, but our community, unfortunately, is not there yet. But you have to have community that is going to hold you accountable. And you have to have leaders
Right.
that is going to talk about this, and not just talk about it like it's a trend or a fad, because I'm sick of that too. Putting up memes and little sayings. You're going to have to pray, and the Most High will give you the answer. People just don't want to do the work, because there is work in healing.
Absolutely.
And some of us will be doing that work until the Messiah returns,
Absolutely.
because some of us
Absolutely.
have so much trauma.
That's right.
And then
True
some
that.
of us, have minimal trauma, just depending on your lineage.
That's
And
right.
so you don't compare yourself to other people,
No,
especially if you have experienced extensive trauma.
that's right.
Because like I said, with all the work I've done, my elevator only go up to like the eighth, maybe the ninth floor on a good day. And I know that I will have to stay in continual healing just because of how I'm made up. I have to stay accountable. I have to have community, because outside of that, I will break. I ain't ashamed to say that. I need community, and
Mhm.
I'm very careful now, especially about who I am around. I know that people just want to be your friend because they want to be your friend. Then I know people that are going to minister to you because they love and care about you, right? And they're going to tell you. So you ladies, this is why I know we get into that in the next discussion.
Mhm.
But this is so heavy, because we said a lot, because I can feel the weight of people. and how they're feeling. And it's breaking my heart because it's a lot of us in the faith sectors that have gone through what she gone through, but you don't want to admit it. And this
Right.
Won't admit it.
is
Right.
why we're seeing
Everything's good. I'm blessed and highly favored.
and the sexual abuse in the faith sectors is off the charts to
Right.
where everybody is turning a blind eye and we're
Right.
using scripture
Right.
to
Right.
see the
Right.
sexual misconduct and abuse and rape that's happening within the faith. So we're going to talk about that next week.
Absolutely.
Molestation and abuse is happening within the faith because we don't want to talk about it. Just put your religious lens on. And this is why it's very important. It's just been to have the proper community. And I know we're not there yet as a people, but I can't stress that enough. You have to be careful, ladies. If you have been through any type of sexual trauma, you are a target for people, leaders in the faith, to take advantage of you. You
Absolutely.
are prime stake for them.
Crime.
And like my husband said, he told me the fastest way for a broken man to find leadership is in the faith.
That's right. That's right. You're
That's
absolutely right.
broken man to
True.
find leadership
Sad to say, but
in
true.
the faith. So, ladies and men, you have to discuss this because where we're going next is going to hit home because we think we can hide in the faith community. That's why I stress
In the
certain
assembly.
type of community.
Right.
Certain type of community, not just because you go to church, you can go to your little assembly, your little synagogue, and your little mosque. That's where sexual abuse is really
That's right.
it's really amplified. And as a when I was coming into the Pentecostal faith as a 20, I think I was 21, it was a young girl my age who had 4 children by her father. Now I'm sitting there as a single mother and I'm sitting in the churches. I'm like, and they stand up because by the time I got there, he had gotten out of hand. And I would never forget it. And they tried to talk to the man, and he said, he wanted her to be his wife because the wife died and ended up having 4 children. I would never forget that. But and as fast as that, I said that was as fast as it was done. And they made him leave the church though, and she was able to worship there in peace. She seemed happy, but nobody talked about healing. Nobody like it was just like, and I'm like, we skipped a whole lot of steps, and that's what's
You're
wrong
okay now. You're okay.
with the faith community. And I'm like, now that I'm older, I'm like, poor baby, she didn't get no really relief. It was just a band-aid with religion and going to church. Yeah, they
Right.
came out, but what was life after she got out that church?
Right.
So this is why we need to have
Absolutely.
every leader. I don't know what we're doing, but every leader needs to be talking about this, not just us. I just don't understand why this is not
Absolutely.
part of ministry.
Well, the thing of it is, if you've got leaders that the ones that are doing it, of course they're not going to talk about it.
There you go. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So you have so many leaders that are abusers.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go from touching molestation, rape abuser to abuse of authority,
Yeah.
emotional abuse of your congregants, where you are ruling and being superior and in authoritative position. You have emasculated the men in your assembly. And now instead of them wives going to or having that honor and that respect and that belief in their husband, they go into their pastor, preacher, shepherd, bishop, whatever, bypassing their husband. And no wonder men don't even like to step foot in nobody's church.
That's right.
Because they've been emasculated in the church. Because their wife now will listen to their pastor over their husband. So when you have that abuse of authority, we're going to talk about that because that's a problem.
A big problem.
There are assemblies where men's and leaders' mouths are in people's homes where they have no business.
Mm-hmm.
And when they should be in their home, they're shutting up. The woman walk in the service with a black eye. Somebody need to be talking about it.
Community. I don't know. I know we getting there. that I know we getting there, but she's leading us right into that because
absolutely,
thank the Most High, she found leadership that were full of integrity and good character. But that could have went left because she's right for the
she was right
for that another level of abuse. And some of us find ourselves that have went from one abuse to another abuse, just levels on levels, and that's very hard. That's why I say I have to stay in community because you find yourself, I escaped the carnal, earthly, non-spiritual abuse, and then you go into the church, and now there's more, and it's like
abuse.
So we
praise Father Yah for the leaders that you have, that will lead in the way of righteousness.
That's right.
Because we have so many that do not know what righteousness is, and they will not be trustworthy, and they walk around acting like their whole life has been a walk in the park and daisies and smelling the roses and stuff.
And you know what I like what Bethany said, and one thing the Father does, because we know that He is our Father, and we know Hamashiach, we have that, but the Most High will bring in those who are human, I'll say, because what she said she always wanted a mother, and she always wanted a father.
Yeah.
And I mean, we know Prophetess Ezekiel. We know
absolutely
Amore Douglas.
Yeah, Amore Douglas, right.
She couldn't have the what better parents to have, spiritual, but also that part in the physical, being that what she always desired, that Yah gave her the desire of her heart, and then not just being that, but being real, transparent, and not just hugging on you and loving on you, but pushing you to do the work, which a real parent will do. Pushing you to do the work. And then even as she said, I love, did we hear how she said, on the choir, singing on the praise lead, still doing, because sometimes some leaders know what you're still doing, and they're like, oh, you got to stop that right now, and you got to get out.
Or I'm going to sit you down.
Or I'm going to sit
you down.
But listen.
That's why Father Yahweh says,
I love it. She's there.
Remember
her mess. Sometimes we can still be in our mess, but it's a process.
Yeah.
And some people think it's got to stop instantly.
Right.
It's a process.
And it don't happen. It's a
and
process.
They still loved on. See, that's what love is. They don't get love is long suffering. Am I right?
Absolutely.
And that love, whereas they didn't have to say, but just having that love and being that parent, that she's sorting the Most High, and she is convicted. I can't do this. So I'm going to do the work because I got. Listen, this is something. I'm telling you, how awesome is that?
You know what? We're going to get ready to close out, but when you think about that, I think about when Father Yahweh says, "Remember." And what does he say? Remember when you were once slaves in Mitzrayim. Remember how you were treated. Don't treat everybody that way.
Come on now. Come on.
When you were in your sin, Stop walking around like you holier than thou, because you were sinning at one time. Remember. These are the things that you have to remember. Someone asked me one time, how did you deal with your children when you found out that they were doing certain things as teenagers and in college and whatever? I said, when they came to talk to me about it, you know what? I tried to remember my sin when I was a teenager, because I wasn't picture perfect.
Wasn't picture perfect.
I said, so I remembered my sin.
Yeah.
And then that brought me down to a place of humbling to say, I'm not going to judge my baby right here. I'm not going to judge being a congregational leader. I'm not going to judge this person sitting in front of me right now, because I remember my sin. So I think that that's one thing that I think that's missing.
Yeah.
That we always want to talk about, forget. But Father Yahweh says, remember. Remember. So, Bethany, we want to thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for being so transparent.
I give all praises to Avia for even allowing the opportunity to share my testimony, and maybe it can help someone else. So
Yes.
again, once he delivered me from self, because there's times where self-evaluation is an everyday thing.
Absolutely.
So I have to ask the Father, okay, so what is it about me that I need to see that you're not pleased with, and I need your help to help me fix it?
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
he will show me. But you have to be sincere about it. He just can't show it to you, and you just throw it to the side like you didn't ask him to reveal it to you, and then you didn't like what you saw, so you're going to do away with it and not fix it. So
Absolutely.
we have to fix ourselves before we can even think about helping somebody else to fix them.
That's right.
And
Absolutely.
a lot of and then in our community also, where does masturbation kick in at? Because that has a lot to play with how a person grows up too. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
you know, when I was walking around today, and I'm saying it with a smile on my face, because I'm like, Father, I wrestle with masturbation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it's better than going out here just laying up with anybody and then going against you, but I need help in this area because
Mm-hmm.
I'm hurting in this area. You don't want me to do this. So help
Right.
me to get rid of this too.
Right.
You know, a lot of people are born out of lust, not out of love.
True.
True. Very
Then
true.
they pass that down to their children, and they wondering why the children is growing up. So that the word says that we were born in sin. Mm.
Shaped in
I
iniquity.
take a strong look at it because how was our parents before we were born? Were we born out of love, or we were born in lust?
Mm-hmm.
So and I will be the first. My children were born out of lust because I couldn't keep my emotions intact. I couldn't,
Mm-hmm.
self control is a powerful thing, and I didn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
I only wanted self control when I wanted self control, and then if I wanted to run wild, that's what I would. So
Mm-hmm.
he revealed a lot to me, and I
Mm-hmm.
growed up. Just because
Mm-hmm.
you're 42 doesn't mean your mind is 42. Your mind
Mm-hmm.
still has yet to catch up with your age. So you
Mm-hmm.
say you grown, but are you grown? Are you mentally grown? Are you emotionally grown? Are you spiritually grown? I know you physically grown because I can see,
Right.
but
Right.
are we grown in other areas?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then that's why marriages is not working out.
Mm-hmm.
The divorce rates are high
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people don't have that self control. How would
Mm-hmm.
see this is how the father works with me, and I'm like, Father, I'm not ready to be a wife, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll just let anybody. I'm not ready to be a wife because I'm too busy still trying to find me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still too busy still trying to find my way. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so healing, healing is a beautiful thing, and just because it gets lonely sometimes, but in that loneliness, what are you gonna do? You're gonna give in?
Mhm.
Because me, I have nights where I cry to the Father, Father, I'm lonely. Can you hold me till I go to sleep? Like I
Mhm.
talk to the Father just like that, and I'm glad I can talk to Daddy like that.
Mhm.
Like Father, I need you. Hold me till I can go to sleep. Can you hold me in your arms, wrap me in your loving warmth, and take this feeling of loneliness away?
Mhm.
Because it gets lonely sometimes, but it's what you do with it.
Right. Correct.
So for those that want a husband or for those that want a wife, just ask yourself, are you ready?
Mhm.
Are you ready for that? Is there some things that you need to fix within you? Because you don't need to put all that toxicity in somebody else. No, we gotta break that curse.
Mhm. Yeah, because those are generational. They are generational most times.
Uh-huh. And then if you
Mhm.
don't have children, be glad you don't have children until you get yourself, you know, worked out and then have children.
Ready to do that.
Don't.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So it's a
Mhm.
lot of topics that needs to be discussed in our community about this. So
Absolutely.
yeah, like harvest is plenty, but laborers are very few.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I'm just grateful and I'm thankful that Abiyah has allowed me the opportunity to share me with the world. You know,
I'm
he
glad
gets
you
the
mentioned
glory. He
about
gets
that.
all the glory.
Yeah.
Yeah, mentioned about masturbation because I see that that is a big thing, even in our community and even in our spiritual base areas, because
Mhm.
that's something that needs that, that's something.
Hidden. It's hidden.
It's hidden.
Who
And
else would know that? But you.
yeah,
Right.
that and pornography.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. It's hidden. Hidden sins.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mhm.
I just wanted to mention that. That's all. But
But
we
hidden
truly
sin,
thank you. I tell you, you really, and thank you just being transparent and just opening up. It was
Man.
really,
Hallelujah.
wonderful. I mean, you just opened the door, you opened the light, because things you said, people feel it, but they won't open up to it.
Won't open up and say it.
Yeah.
Okay, Christina, yes.
Let's see if I can play the music. Can you hear the music? Let's see. trying to trying to learn how to. All right,
Yes.
you can hear it. Okay. All right, we are closing out. Thank you for joining us. Our email is the righteous view 01 at gmail.com. Please send in your topics that you feel would be beneficial. If you have a degree or special training in a specific area related to women's health and would like to be a special guest, please email us your bio and we will review it and reply as soon as we can. You with Deborah.
If you have enjoyed the podcast thus far, please tune in and tell a friend. Next week, we will continue with this discussion concerning rape, molestation, and incest, but in our spiritual communities. If you
Mhm.
put a comment in the chat that we didn't address, please email us and we will reply as soon as we can. Thank you.
Hallelujah. We want to thank Bethany, our sister Bethany. Big
Yeah.
all
hug
praises to
Thank
to
Abiyah.
you.
you for being our guest panelist this evening, bringing insight to this very important topic. And we want to thank all of you, our listening audience, for tuning in. Again, we look forward to another edition of The Righteous View. Good evening, everyone, and have a great rest of your week. Take
Thank
care.
you, Niecy. Thank you, my niece.
Oh.